Okay, I'm back, everybody. What's going on? Zach Attack is back at you. Talk a little bit of the NFL. Talk about what's happened as of today. I'm going to go with a little bit of the news here and there. Obviously, the biggest stories are the top three biggest stories as of right now are the Browns got their first win of the year, which I talked to him just recently. Um, the Aaron Rodgers really has put himself in consideration of the MVP. Totaled 5 touchdowns in their 38-25 win at home against the Vikings. And I think though the biggest story though is, and it's the third last one, Marcus Mariota broke his leg. Well, technically he broke his fibula, but he broke the lower part of his leg, and obviously he's done for the year. But how much time will he have to miss in the off season before he preps up for next year? And it's just a sad thing to see because he was having such a nice sophomore year after he had a pretty good rookie year. But I mean, it just hurts to see a really good player like Marcus, a really good young player like Mariota, go down with that kind of an injury. But I mean, they're a part of the game, and this is what the players signed up for. But I'm not trying to be, a Debbie Downer, but I do hope and wish him a happy and fast recovery and a Merry Christmas. But obviously then the game that went to overtime, the only one that went to OT today was the Dolphins-Bills. Jay Ajayi for the third time this year, and thank God he was my fantasy pickup of the year. Jay Ajayi for the third time this year rushed for over 200 yards. He also had a score. He totaled, if you're a fantasy guy like me, he totaled 26 points. So that was a good day for Jay Ajayi fantasy owners, as Miami squeaked out a 34-31 win at Buffalo. Buffalo, with the loss, is officially eliminated from the picture. Miami, if they can get Denver to lose on Sunday, if Denver loses Sunday night on Christmas, it could be the Dolphins could get in the playoffs for the first time since 2010, I want to say. 2010 sounds about right, the last time the Dolphins got in the playoffs. But that's neither here or there. But the Miami Dolphins are getting 1 inch closer, and it's actually shocking. Matt Moore's been really good in 2 games. Now, granted, he's played the Jets and the Bills, but let's be fair. The guy's done his part, and he's done his job, and he's kept the Dolphins in the picture. And he's won both their games. So, what could go wrong? Anywho, but really though, I think the big news was the injury to Mariota, and the Browns got their first win, along with a little bit of the playoff seeding. And of course, the 49ers were losing, so now the 49ers are in a race for the number 1 pick after Cleveland won. But it's all these things that are mixed in together, and I might even talk a little fantasy in this. And if you're a fantasy owner, if you had owners of Aaron Rodgers, Jay Ajayi, if you picked up Adam Thielen, you were smart. Adam Thielen had over 200 yards. He had 202 yards and 2 scores today, 2 touchdowns, I think. Totaled 32 points. If you didn't have him in your roster starting lineup for this week, I would definitely recommend him at a low-end wide receiver 2 for next week when they host the Chicago Bears to close out the season. Of course, with their loss today, the Vikings are eliminated from the playoffs, because I think even if the Buccaneers lose, I don't think the Vikings can get in. I think they are officially eliminated from the picture. But I do think though the Packers are the scariest team in the NFL right now. And if they were to get in even as a wild card, they're still dangerous, because they have the best quarterback on the planet in Aaron Rodgers. So with as long as Rodgers is healthy, the Packers could be on the move, and they could be the only threat to the Cowboys in the NFC playoff picture. I do think though, Ajayi is always going to be a stardom running back. In most leagues, because of where he falls, Ajayi really rebounded from a terrible week last week against the Jets. Ajayi, I think, rushed for like 51 yards last week against the Jets. Came back and rushed for what was 206 yards. He also had a score. But Ajayi against the Patriots at home, where Miami's only lost once all year, he is definitely a wide receiver. I would put him at a wide receiver 1, if not a very high-end wide receiver 2, or running back 2. And because the automatic stardoms are Dallas's Zeke Elliott, Arizona's David Johnson. It was San Diego's Melvin Gordon, but now I think you could put Ajayi up there as an RB1. But, I mean, considerably, he's actually had a really, really good year. And Ajayi, I think, amongst all the players, I don't think anyone's rushed over 200 yards, not even David Johnson. But Jay Ajayi has done it not once, not twice, but 3 times, twice against the Bills. I mean, that's crazy. I mean, obviously, I think Ajayi might be the only running back in the league that might threaten Zeke Elliott's rushing title in his rookie year. But I give Jay Ajayi a lot of props. He's a really good rising running back. Both he and Melvin Gordon are both going to be really good studs in the near future. Melvin Gordon had a really good bounce-back year after he had an awful freshman year. But that's all I got for NFL news today on the Christmas Eve highlight reel. I gave you a little bit of the fantasy. Obviously, Julio Jones has been really disappointing, and I understand he's been dealing with the toe injury, but I would still, at some point, put Julio Jones as a stardom because, I mean, he's a superstar. You can't risk him potentially having a breakout game. So, because it's the respect that Julio Jones deserves. Julio Jones at home against New Orleans next week will definitely be a high Sharpie marked in wide receiver 1. And I think for next week for the championship, if you haven't started them, start Rodgers, start Breeze, start Ryan. I would not start Tom Brady, but I would rather start Blake Bortles over Tom Brady in Week 17. Jacksonville has nothing to play for. New England's already clinched. That's a little fantasy news, and as always, I will see you guys in the next one. Until then, take care.